We are live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Halloween edition of DESIGNathon. The robots are coming. Manaz and I have a great show planned for you today. We have Harsha and Karthika here to speak to where the robots have been, where they're going, and what we should sort of expect in the future. Manaz, want to say hi?
Hi everyone. I hope you've been having a killer day so far. We're gonna make it more spooky for you today.
Karthika, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little about you and what you do.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Kartika. Happy Saturday and happy Halloween. So, my background is robotics engineering. I did my bachelor's in electronics and communication, master's in sensor systems, and then I had my PhD in electrical and computer engineering with a major in robotics. So I have worked with even smaller boats, starting from my bachelor's degree, like Arduino. And then I've grown up to work with bigger robots like Husky from ClearPath, a lot of skid steer robots, differential drive robots, equipment steering vehicles, and even Boston Dynamics Spot Dog, which is of interest to even smaller kids, right? And yeah, so I've been working with robotic boats and robots for over 10 years right now. And I am building algorithms for robotics. I'm also a drone pilot, by the way. I have a Part 107 drone pilot license, a FAA certification. And I support autonomous operations. And I currently am a senior SCA at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, where I help in building path planning algorithms for robots and also help with autonomous operations with drones and build statistical algorithms with AI, deep learning, ML for all the robot related operations. Yeah, it's going to be a killer day
Wow.
today.
Wow, Karthika, I'm feeling like
Wow,
a
girl.
real
You're
slacker right
killing it.
Thank you.
now. That is so awesome. Oh my God, blown away. Oh, and everybody should know Harsha. He's one of my favorite people on the planet, and this is his second time on the show. Harsha, say hi to everybody. And we know you do a ton of different work, but what's your robotic work about?
Yes, hi everybody. Good to be in the Swarm community again, and especially with my two favorite people and Menas. Kartika is a neighbor. We talk very often, and we chat about this thing. In fact, when I met Kartika, I was like, "Oh my God, you work in robotics, and you work for this thing." I'm like, "Wow, I need to get to know you well." So so yes, so we chat a lot. Her daughter is my favorite, my wife's favorite. So
Oh.
so we have this thing. So what is it that draws me to robotics? Um, I've been working in the AI field for quite some time now. I describe myself as an AI product builder. I see that as the next wave coming in, the physical AI part, the AI part that makes robots almost feel like human and acceptable human-like entities. So I think that's the next wave that's coming in. It's already there. Elon Musk is talking about Optimus robots, and then Amazon just announced, for good or bad, that they're going to replace a lot of humans with workflow at this thing. But I am fascinated by this concept, even from a young age, reading about Isaac Asimov's robotic novels. And then you're seeing these entities really coming alive. I see a lot of potential of these AI products, I call them, doing things that humans will find, you find it today and find it very difficult to do, like dangerous work, repetitive work, going to space, going under the ocean, where humans. So I'm fascinated by that. But overall, I'm really fascinated what the innovation or transformation in our lives would come. How do we handle the multitude of robot that comes? What is their economics? How do we design it? How do we make it acceptable to us? And another thing that I'm starting to explore is human robot emotions. Can we truly fall in love? Can somebody fall in love with a robot? Or can we get them to accept them as children, mates, friends? or even parental figures. So that is something I'm trying to explore. So Kartika and I have collaborated on a few papers. We've published, I think, like 3 papers, and trying to work on a book on physical AI. So that's my chance to work with an amazing tech leader. I mean, you would have heard her bio. She's like the cat's meow, right? And you work with an amazing leader, and actually learn by doing and growing with it. So I can carve my niche in the physical AI going forward, and at the same time, I help her in whatever way I can and share. And that is why I reached out to her saying, let's get onto this together. Let's get onto this amazing community, interact with these 2 amazing ladies, and you know, and talk about what is on our minds.
Thank you, Harsha. So can you two get us sort of level set? Like, what was the evolution like from 5 years ago to this past year? Like, what's different? What was it and what is it now? What's the difference? I mean, since Gen AI, did that make an impact? Are things different now because of it? Kind of give us a little rundown of where we were to where we are now.
Things have improved a lot from last 5 years with the invention of modern AI techniques and to begin with Gen AI. And if I remember it, when I started working on my thesis during the PhD, I had to like basically rely on a modern middleware called robot operating system that was like coming into innovation, but that was still there, but it was like on grounds level and it was not more advanced with every algorithm or everything integrated to it. So when I had to work with smaller robots or even bigger vehicles for building path planning algorithms, integrating sensors, doing sensor fusion, and doing it for different applications, I had to basically do everything from scratch. But with the AI and with all the standard libraries and this middleware called robot operating system, now it's kind of like a brain for all the robots. So you have to have a robot operating system. If you have it, it would make life easier. You don't have to basically reinvent the wheel, and you can actually rely on a lot of packages. And even they even have reinforcement agentic AI and training algorithms already embedded into it. So once you are familiar with hardware and software integration and how a basic code structure works, you can take out the existing code and modify it, which makes things a lot easier. You save time, you save money, you save the basic effort, a lot of effort that you take to put everything from scratch, right? So that is there. That is how it has evolved since the last 5 years. And Harsha and I, we also came up with a solution called Evolve that we published. And so that basically tells us about a design framework that helps the robot to improve their life, not just focus on what they are built about. So it focuses on 4 areas: how robots think, feel, move, and connect with people, involving 5 pillars. And they're like cognition, emotions, memory, morphology, and then the social interaction associated. Harsha, you want to take it over from here? How it looks on the product management side?
Sure. Thank you for the great technical this thing. So where I would like to add is talk about what is happening in our life, right? Now, robots are going from science fiction to science fact. We are going to see robots in more and more in our daily lives, in our daily work scenarios. They're going from factory floors to home floors. So iRobot was one of those things. I mean, it does an amazing job of cleaning. And now we're going to soon have Jenny, from the Jetsons. I think that what's it? I
Yeah.
forgot the name, but you're going to have a little helper to fold clothes.
Rosie.
Rosie, yeah.
Rosie to fold clothes, clean houses, be a nanny. So that's very much on the cards. But the thing is the mindset. Robots in media were portrayed either as good or really evil, like the Terminator ones. But now we realize for what it is, it's going to add some augmentation to our human life and the work that we do. So perhaps it can free us humans to focus on quote unquote higher value things. So that's the promise. So the biggest change that I see is the fact that this innovation, which was really considered in the realm of imagination, in imagine of fiction, is actually poised to become reality. And then there are certain shifts, right? Now China has become a really driving force in the robotics thing. They have a whole mall, 4 floors of them, where you can just go, maybe spend $2,000, you can walk away with a humanoid robot, right? And so it all points to the fact that these solutions, which were once considered the esoteric, specialized skills for robotics researchers, like in Carnegie Mellon or like Kartika working in labs, we are going to see it as a commodity item, and it is going to make a change in our lives. So the media mindset is changing to movies like iRobot, or artificial intelligence is about a child robot, right? And very soon they're talking about robotic pets. So we can have companions. In fact, for a few days ago, I was working on a very fascinating concept of a medical application is about elder care, fall and detection and this thing. So the biggest challenge was who will be there with a senior when they have such a crisis as a life impacting crisis. And the answer is like a always on 24 by 7 robotic helper who can actually do the job of monitoring all the time. But of course, it comes with its own issues, ethical considerations, and privacy. But actually, we are talking about it, right? So that's where I see things have changed from 5 years to the next 5 years, where I see it becoming more mainstream, more powerful, more capable, and a drive to be something that can possibly change our lives for good, or go to space for us,
So
or
what industry do you think is the most affected, like making the most headway right now?
um I would say, and possibly for the various reasons, I would say the manufacturing industry, where a lot of the processes lend themselves to automation and robotic based building, would be something that will see very a kind of a diffusion of robots coming in and doing the jobs that typically humans used to do.
But that's
So
not new, right? Like I feel like that's kind of where they've been. What's new? Like where are they kind of
yeah, so
infiltrating that's different outside of?
correct. Yeah. So yes, you're right. Manufacturing robotics is not new, but they're enabling something where human workers are actually being replaced. But there are two areas where I think they're making a real difference. One is robotic surgery, right? So Intuitive Surgical has really working, credible, fantastic systems which are doing surgery at a precision which only a few humans can do. But they can take patients all day and all night, and then they can do the
That's
surgery.
so interesting. Yeah, that is a really
Yeah,
interesting
medical
one.
care. The second thing is space travel. Definitely, I think robots are required for space travel. Humans, contrary to all the movies that we see, I don't think humans can survive in space for too long. So we need some entities that can represent us, and go to space. And now that a billionaire tycoon really wants to go and settle in Mars, right? So he wants to retire in Mars. But I think some jobs that's going to be there. But the other frightening aspect is war, the automation in war, automated robotic soldiers, planes that don't require pilots, right?
Mm.
That's the theme of the latest Mission Impossible movie, correct? Tom Cruise proves that he still got the shots, but he says that the future is robotic planes and
Clone
war.
Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Clone Wars was, I think, Jenga fits human. I think, but yes, but soldiers, automations, tanks, hunter killers, right? So that's a frightening aspect, but I
Hmm.
think very realistic. So even though war is not new, the weapons of mass destructions are not new. It's going to take on a whole new form.
But I
Mm.
have to ask you the question that's on everybody's mind. When is it going to do my laundry and my dishes?
I was coming to that point. Would you, if
Yes.
like we would all buy a robot if it come to cost of a car to do our daily chores, right? If I'm craving to eat some food, I'm like, okay, make this food for me. If I have had someone to do the laundry, to clean the house for me, that'll be great, right?
I think
Yeah.
that a lot of people really feel that sentiment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, this would improve my life if I could outsource these mundane tasks.
Exactly.
So
So
what
when?
makes it scary? Like, I think we have like this feeling of fear at the same time, like when we want to make things easier, but we have this fear of they taking the autonomy and do something that we don't expect, and we don't know how to control that. Like, how would you? I think this is why it makes it scary. So how it's like, how do you control this?
So for in terms of safety applications for every robot, there is something called emergency stop with respect to the hardware point of
Um,
view. And also, like, even when we talk to Siri, we can just tell Siri, hey, Siri, stop, or hey, Google, stop whatever you are saying. So those
Mm.
commands basically trigger them to stop whatever actions they are doing. Even the pressing the emergency stop button during in the hardware during any issues of safety protocol would help in this too.
hmm.
Oh, okay.
Like
And
these are
how
So
like
can we
what
test
makes it
that?
like not useful? Like, so
sorry.
Yeah.
why we are fearing of this if we
Yeah.
have this option?
Yeah. So there is both a fear component and an
Mhm.
excitement component here.
Yes.
So the exciting thing is the simplest of tasks for humans is actually a very hard task for robots to learn and do. Right? We can instinctively and figure out how to fold clothes. Right? We know how to fold shirts. We can somehow learn and watch almost immediately. But that, if and Kartika can and validate that, that is a very Herculean task for robots. To learn and do. So the question is, am AI to most people, to the common, the denizens of society, AI wants AI is something that should take away the drudge in their lives, right? Repetitive, boring thing that they have to do, and somehow make their lives somehow fun and enjoyable and do what they want to do. And that's a noble goal. And I think it will get there. But the thing is that really a good use of robots? Now, that is what bringing in fear, the displacement fear in humans. It's not new, right?
Mm.
People who drove horse carriages were fearing about, automobiles, right? Then people who used to take notes, like secretaries and stenographers, were displaced by typewriters or word processors or computers, and now even voice dictation things. So in one of my recent LinkedIn articles, I said, when I start using AI, I'm a big proponent of AI. The first thing that brings question is, what is left for me to do if AI starts doing these things, or if I teach AI to do these things, what is left for me to do? And I think that's a really existential question that should be examined, not leading to fear, but a critical examination of, where what we think ourselves as a human society and where we want to go, right? And progress should be there, evolution should be there. Somehow we should be looking at things, how to improve our lives. I'm not for war. I'm not for killing. I'm not for destruction. And construction is something, and I think that fear can be moderated, fear can be transformed, and fear can be transformed by what is possible. Imagine, man, us, there's no war. There is, we live at peace with each other, and then robots are there to do what we think we should be, we find it boring or we find it dangerous to do. So just let's imagine the potential and the art of the possible.
Mm, interesting.
In short, make robots predictable, transparent, empathetic, and I would say human centered.
So are there any breakthroughs that still haven't happened that need to happen to kind of get it to the point where we have these domestic assistants? Or just, it's not something you see every day, right? What needs to happen for this to be more of an everyday thing?
Let me take a shot at that. Sorry, Karthika, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead.
Yeah. So what I think, and Karthika and I've talked about it, is what is the outward form of a robot look like? What will it make it acceptable, to people? Will Menas accept a robot that exactly looks like her, right? A surrogate, for example. Seen the movie, movie Surrogates, where robots exactly look like a carbon copy of them. So Kartika alluded to what you call the evolved framework. It's actually a framework for designing robots, progressive systems design. And a lot of questions come up. How should we make them? Should we make them as human-like as possible, right? Should we give them exactly 5 fingers, 2 legs, one head, or 2 eyes, or can we make them more functional? I mean, there are things where we should ask: why should a robot have only 2 eyes? Can it have 4 eyes? Right? Can it have four hands to do things better? Right? Should it require legs? Why not have like something like a rolling thing, right? And this is one of the questions that I've asked Karthika and talked about during our early discussions in Evolve: is why should robots look like humans? Why cannot robots look like insects, right? Insects, like, I mean, spiders with 8 legs, correct? So if you look at the movie not what is that movie with
iRobot?
Skynet, right? Yeah, none of the robots look like humans. They all look
Mm.
like, I don't know, squids and insects and things like that. So I think what should really happen is a deep look into the form and function of robots. What are they? What should be their optimal design to do the task that they were set out to do? Right? It may not require more than an arm and a camera. I mean, why does it require a chest and things? And what will it make it acceptable by humans? Correct. So um, without that, I think this thing of saying, oh my God, we're going to have 1 million robots in our society, right? And or millions and billions, right? There's going to be maybe 1.3 robots for each one human on in a country plan. So what needs to happen for that? And that brings with it ethical, economic, political, societal psychological considerations. So I've written about robonomics. The real thing is not the device, not this thing. The real thing is, what does it do to the economics of society? And the studies is both frightening and insightful. A robot worker, even though upfront it's going to be expensive and technologically complex than a human being, in the long run, the per hour unit economics of having a robot worker is far more attractive to pure capitalistic pigs than having a human worker. And that is one of the things that I think we're going to grapple down the line. If we think that AI displacement is bad now, think about what's going to happen in the economics. But again, the question is, who are the robots' customers? Who are is going to be users, right? Yeah.
And I would be remiss if I didn't ask for my people. My people are the UX researchers and UX designers of the world. Is there a place? Can researchers and designers sort of pivot into this robotic space? Are there jobs for that? And what does it look like? Like, what's the process, the design process when you're working on projects like this?
I believe that there is an evolving field, and Carnegie Mellon is one of those universities who has taken a lead. is human robot interaction, right? Like human computer interaction is HRI. And I think the need for real designers, so I mean the form and function designers, is going to be really critical. And how do we envision something, that's a physical entity, and understanding what does it take to make it acceptable and quote unquote loved by humans, right? So if you want a companion robot for a child, who will go and understand what a child really likes, wants, and it will make, the child will accept this thing. Do you make it cute? Do you make it animal like, something like? So the user experience is going to take such a different form. So I think it's going to be a huge field, which I think is going to make or break this industry at all, beyond what is the economics. And saying, and some executive is saying, yeah, look, I have a worker who can work for $12.50 per hour, right? And it'll save me $100,000 per year, because I don't have to feed it. I don't have It doesn't sleep, right? It doesn't, I mean, I don't have to pay medical benefits, but things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So but I think the user experience part, and that is the crux of our evolve framework. The evolve is exactly that. How do we evolve the design, the form, the functionality in such a way that it keeps up with the innovations? So that is one thing that we have said. The robot form and function is not keeping up with AI. It becomes obsolete. So how do we make it evolve with AI and become like a Tesla car, right? A Tesla car just gets some updates over the air and suddenly starts doing things it cannot. So, but the car is not obsolete. So those are some things which I think we should look for. Anything to add, Kartika, to that?
At the end of the day, user experience is the key. And I kind of think that robots should not replace people, they should grow with people, right?
Augment. So is your message to the UXRs of the world, don't give up, the work will come back, and it will be in this field, do you think?
Oh God, yes. I
Yes,
mean, there's going to
yes.
be a ton of things to do, and it is going to focus on something that is so quintessential of each UX person, the human
Exactly.
aspect. You can focus on you. You can focus on others, humans. So I think the field really requires a new dimension of thinking, and people who already have that mindset and that thing, if they can make that pivot and shift to it and grasp those things, define what is human for both the customer as well as for the product. That's going to be fantastic things. I think human robot interaction is going to be such a hot field.
Interesting. Um, okay.
I
So
have a question.
yeah,
Oh,
go.
sorry. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So I wanted to ask, what makes humans want to interact with robots? Like, are there like other than like doing the jobs that are boring for humans, or like are there other criterias that like makes humans want to interact with robots? Like, yeah, could you explain a little bit about this?
For example, if you take the application of ecology and sustainability, um, surveying an entire forest is really hard for just an ecologist or a group of ecologists to do, right? It's acres and acres of land. And if you have a robot to survey the forests, have a drone and a ground robot communication set up, so that will really help the ecologists to analyze what is going on in the ecosystem to bring up the sustainability of the planet, which is really important in terms of mankind or in terms of food survival for everything, right? So it's not basically taking the job for any ecologist or any people. They are still involved with saying, okay, these are the parameters or these are the key factors that are currently missing in literature or that are currently missing in that particular ecosystem, from the literature survey or from whatever is the design dynamics, and then these machines help them decide what to do as a next step, right? That is one example. And another example, when you take in tech where you have to do n number of iterations, say you're doing 1000 iterations, and it is very difficult for just a human to do 1000 iterations, walk 100 meters for 1000 iterations, or go 1 mile, which is really hard. And these making use of these machines would make the task repeatable. You have repetitive, constant, or reliable measurements that you can actually move back and look at and analyze for post processing, right? So these are all the key factors that would say, okay, this is how, these are the different areas that I see people can use it, not just for like home purposes or helping purposes or companion, but other areas of interest too.
Mm.
So, Menas,
So
I think
things, yeah.
so. Can you please repeat the question again, because I want to emphasize parts of it.
Yeah, I wanted to know about what are the different things that makes human interested in interacting with robots.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to emphasize your parts of your question. There is this famous academic professor, Scott Galloway. He has a very interesting podcast. He's a New Yorker, from what I think.
Yeah,
From
I like with some of what he has to say.
correct,
Yeah, he's
but
very.
yeah, he's actually a really good thinker, and he said in one of his earlier podcasts he said the biggest epidemic facing the human race now is not disease; it's loneliness. There is, especially in the United States, there's a loneliness epidemic. And the loneliness comes about because we as humans have failed in making meaningful connections and relationships. Ironically, brought on by technology
Yeah.
and AI. So humans need connections. And where do they find it if they cannot, for some many reasons, with humans? So they seek to automatons like robots, right?
Mm.
Connections are there, otherwise people even question their existence, right? So that's one an area where human kind of relations may be substituted by these robotic entities. And that goes for adult companions and or even children, couples who cannot have children on their biological children on their own and yet want the child experience, a child rearing experience, maybe looking at child robots, right? That's a theme of so many movies like AI and other things where they say, hey, can I have a child robot that looks, talks, acts, behaves with all their things like a child? Why should I
Mm.
lose out on the parental experience?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think, even though it's a quote unquote not a perfect substitute, but it does solve real human problems, right? And for some it is really interesting. And the second thing is, why should humans suffer and die in the course of war? Why should soldiers go to the battlefield and get killed or maimed and this thing? I mean, what's the point of war, right? So you just go do something and destroy something. Just let these replaceable things go and get it done. So that's another thinking
I mean,
where,
we could just let the women run things, and there'd probably not be any wars. I just putting that out there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
yeah,
I
I
believe
agree.
her
We
too.
had a watershed moment where we could have had a women president and things would have been probably in a whole different way, but it didn't happen. And I agree that with that. But where I'm going with this is, there are real wicked problems in society for which there are no clear answers, and not much is being done to address it, even though it's obvious. So this may be an outlet or valve to solve those problems. People need to talk. People need to have a girlfriend when they cannot get reliable human mates. People want to have the people want to do things that they cannot or want to do, right? Like what Kartika said, become a firefighter, or handle fires or dangerous situations where they do not want to go. And then existential questions is, who made us, who created us? And then we ask, if we create some entities, then what is the spiritual or physiological implications of that? Can we become creators? Can we become creators of artificial things? That's the whole thing in the movie Prometheus, right, David? Right. So what David turns out to be another. We create a whole new species, or sentient beings. So that's what I think. It is going back to really fundamental and life changing questions that we need to do. It's more than technology. It's more than a novelty. It's about, we can even define what we think is our purpose and role of existence on this planet.
Yeah, I have to be honest. My first instinct is I don't think it's healthy for humans to create relationships with machines, but I would hope instead that the machines can help us recreate human connection. That I mean, I have a child who's one of them who spends more time with their technology than with people. Um, but I say that out of it's the unknown, but it instinctually feels very wrong to me. And I've learned to trust my instincts because it does not fail me in that way, but also makes me wonder if the financial divide will be, oh, you know what, you can't afford the human doctor, you're going to get the robot doctor, or you can't afford the school with human teachers, you're going to, and it makes me wonder. I was speaking to a therapist yesterday, like they're preparing, like the whole psychiatric field is preparing for this massive mental health crisis caused by the AI and upcoming technologies. And it's like, it's really terrifying in the sense of A, it's unknown. 2, there's a lot of fear. 3, it feels like it's sort of against nature. 4, will the poor get poorer? There's so much to unpack that, to me, the preserving the mental health of the actual humans needs to be at the top of the list. And then things like, there's babies all over the planet that need adopting more. Like, there's so much moral and social and emotional. There's just so much to unpack. What do you think the first step to unpacking and keeping us safe and healthy looks like?
So this was what I said a point before. The robots are not going to replace humans, and they are going to grow with humans. And at the end of the day, we are always attracted to the human are always attracted to emotional alignment in a way, right? And would you prefer to have a companion, even if it's a machine, to help you with therapy when you are in pain? For sure,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm a bit of a purist, so that's why I ask.
I have my ChatGPT therapist now.
And you know what? I mean, I guess maybe it does have a place where, I know people who are staunch against therapy who might actually chat with a bot because they're so against, and that would actually be progress for them, possibly. So it's just, like I said, it's the implications are enormous. And I just worry because we did a garbage job at protecting our kids from social media.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we going to protect them from what's to come if we haven't even been able to come close to protecting them from what's already happening? So that's always front of mind for me. We know we as the majority people don't have the power of tech giants, right? We don't win against them. We can't even protect our own kids from them. So it makes me kind of, that's my first line of thinking. with everything now, as far as, just AI chatbots, robots, everything that's to come. What do you guys think about the, protecting kids and the need to protect kids? Like, is it will it? I'm sure it will evolve over time, but um, what are your thoughts on the children and the protection that they need and how we failed them already?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So let us do a thought experiment. Let's go 50 years from today and envision what the future could look like with a robotic future. Um, so presumably looking to the future, and robots are everyday commonplace, and they are just wandering around, the earth and society and countries and this thing. And then imagine an alien species, we make first contact, comes to Earth. Who do you think they will decide is the dominant species on Earth? Is it the robots or the biological beings? Right? So that raises a question: what is life on this planet? What do you consider as sentient things? Now, I'm a little positive. I mean, I'm a little optimistic in my outlook. I think with diffusion of innovation and becoming everyday things, there could be the challenges with mental health and upheavals and this thing could be overcome. Maybe it will help us discover what is being human all over again. Humans as a whole have done a very lousy job with their biases, with their attitudes and things like that. And maybe we'll all recognize that we are just the same child of God. So it could happen, just like mobile phones were a novelty and a luxury, not I mean just 10 years ago, right? Smartphones, it's almost as if the haves and the have nots have such a huge gap that people without phones were considered almost like stone age, right? You couldn't call, you couldn't talk, you couldn't get services. But guess what? Now smartphones are almost ubiquitous everywhere, from poor countries in Africa to highly advanced phones in like Korea or China or the Western world. So it has come about, and it has done some very positive things. But of course, phone addiction and everything is there. It comes about there. But overall, I think the if we solve the two-way harm problem, that is, we don't do harm to robots and robots don't do harm to us, and they do what they're supposed to do without going nuts and crazy and predictable behavior, I do believe that the human society as a whole will discover what it is to be human. People will say, hey, I'm human, I love you as a human, I know you're a robot, and you're just a robot. You're it. You know, of course, sentient robots may take exception. They may think themselves as something else. But I think attitudes will change with time. And for everything or anything good to come about, there must be something bad or something that has to be, destroyed and come forth. So, but
Exactly. I
And also,
totally agree with you, Harsha.
yeah,
Sorry. I wanted to say like robots will help us value humanity more, like because we are losing like those values that we used to
sure.
have and understanding those. So maybe we need this to value ourselves and our like organic human I don't know, values
yeah,
better.
but that doesn't that can open a whole new can of worms. Is will robots value us the same way that they do now versus they'll do in 50 years? They may think that we are just this useless pile of meat and bone, walking pile of meat and bones, and cannot do things like they do. Like, I don't know, a robot can jump, I don't know, 15 feet without breaking a sweat, or they
Yeah.
don't need food, I mean, other than a swap of battery. But anyway, that's a whole new question.
And we can also focus on the educational value that the robot add, right? And like by that I mean teach the real world skills like maths, science, or whatever, rather than just giving making the robot give the entire solutions, and encourage open-ended thinking, and also promote um, how would I term it, curiosity in kids.
Are there
Mm.
regulations around this at all?
Not for everything, but there are. Um, so that's the main goal of supervise and co-use. So I would say never let your kids form a deep connection when in isolation. Just teach them what do you think the robot just said and what would you do in that situation. So these are all that could like keep the human part of the kids in them, so that they don't totally rely on the robot for any emotional kind of stuff, or they think that oh they are going to do everything for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my concern too.
yeah.
But there is a huge movement of parents not even letting their kids have phones now,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I think given I parented through like before we knew the damage, and have a child who is screen addicted, does not like being around people and all that. I really hope this next now that we know what it does, that this next group of parents who are aware can undo some of that damage that we've
Mhm.
done. But I have a kind of question for the same parents. If you had a child who was in 11th grade right now, knowing what you know about robotics coming, which paths would you tell them to avoid career wise, and which paths would you tell them to go for career wise?
Hmm.
Don't just go for software related stuff, just kind of rely on hardware software integration where the future is focused on. So right now with all the AI stuff right out in the air, AI can just write the code for you. So make sure you don't just take out the code, you understand the code and see if that code makes the code base makes real sense. But hardware and software integration skills is all that is needed apart from just the software point of view.
Hmm.
And see, I have my son going down the path of HVAC because of data cooling centers. I think there'll
Mhm.
be a lot of work for him. I'm also having him do electrical and plumbing because I think, I think that's safe for a while. What other kind of basic or typical vocations do you think will be outsourced first, and to avoid?
Yeah, I'll take this thing. I think if we assume that robots become a thing, I think creativity, the ability to build something and solve real problems is going to be really, really needed. And guess what? Children have fantastic imagination, children and young adults. And they are able to take fearless, creative steps to build something and solve real problems. Think of it as the Lego approach to things. You want a toy car, you have all the Lego pieces, and then you recognize an innate skill or a genius when the young adult or the child is able to put this Lego piece together and make it like a working like a car or a starship or something like that. So I believe that coming down the line, the next generation, there'll be all these pieces, all this technology, all this thing available in a pre-built Lego-like fashion. But how do you put them together to solve real outstanding issue and problems, right? And the skill of building, looking at these things and somehow coming up with a solution to get this working is going to be so critical for that. But that is over and above the skills that is all that really required, the foundational skills. I liken that to an architect who comes up with so creative and great residential and construction buildings, right? Even though the foundational construction technology and all these things are available. But how do you recognize the genius who comes up with that fantastic house concept, that fantastic residential thing, a great work of art in buildings, in form, factor, and function? And I believe that the next generation will just take this and solve things which may not be. Maybe they will, solve the sustainability and environmental crisis, right, in the planet. Maybe we will have the planet Earth really green and and clean and living this thing. Where we are at one with nature. Maybe they'll solve the food production problem. Where and do this thing. So um, I think the human potential, which is already there, may be magnified to maybe amplified and magnified to produce real useful works of art and science and do this. But again, the dark side of the human nature can make it some things where you can really invent weapons where the scale of horror and this thing could be really bad. But overall, I think more than seeing the robotics thing, we're going to see another version of humans going forward. Maybe humans 3.0, where we are not the same humans as today, right? We think differently, we produce differently, and we even our attitudes are different. So we're going to see something so much change both in ourselves as well as the entities that we create, and life as we know it may not be even resemble the life that we know as today.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we can even fathom it right now. I think it's
Yeah.
just there's just too much. But I mean, just on a more simple line of thought, though, like one of the things they offered my son was welding, and I said absolutely not. That's going to be one of the first places the robots take over is welding, underwater welding, all of that gone. So along those lines, which of those do you think will kind of dry up first? Cleaning, right? Like window cleaning, floor cleaning, right? Like I feel like that's feasible. Welding, like I said. What else? What things should we be steering our kids clear of so they don't waste tuition? Because I guess this is heavy on my heart because I do a lot of mentor meetings per week, and it's almost always somebody who just graduated college, master's, bachelor's, 50, 60, $80,000 in tuition debt and can't get work because of AI, well, partially because of AI, and they want to get those new tools in their toolbox so they can work. So
Mhm.
what can we do to kind of avoid that in this next wave? What jobs do you think are absolutely positively going to be in the hands of the robots first?
Well, we have to start off by thinking what exactly is a job or a vocation, right? Or what is the career mean going forward? Um, and I think those jobs which are really physically taxing on humans and dangerous, like welding, for example,
Mm-hmm.
sh- can and should be automated away, right? Now, why am I saying this? The reason I'm wearing glasses is that I was stupid during my college days doing welding, and I have a scarred retina on my eye, right, my right eye, because I did not take safety precautions during welding. So these are things that I think some careers where um, it presents a real clear and present danger to humans, exposes them to dangerous working environments, to pollution, to carcinogens and things like that. So yes, some skilled trades may call for more of robotics than robotic automation than anything else, but overall I don't think any job will be 100% replaced. We are a long way away from that. And
Mm-hmm.
if we ever get to that, then there is no human society. What will humans do, right? So we have to ask that. What will humans do? They never will get to that. I think at least in my lifetime there'll be a balance between the human workers and the robotic workers in any trade field or thing. But there are areas like creative output, art, science, music, architecture, where I think robots simply cannot do it. We don't understand the human mind. We don't understand how it works. We don't understand the creative process. What makes me different from makes me Harsha different from Anne, right? Anne makes fantastic cakes and she likes it. But I mean, it's her specialty, but that's not. But robots are going to be like almost the same. They're going to be thinking the same, doing the same, governed by the same thing. So, yeah. So it is. So yeah, I think the two areas where I think is immediately I would say avoid. Children should not look at going and signing up for like to become soldiers or marines or grunts and things like that, or air force pilots. I see air force pilots is going to be the Top Gun kind of thing is going to go away. I should. We can't afford human lives lost and millions of dollars of life. We should be doing this thing. We cannot endure loss of life and unnecessary killings. We as a race cannot define ourselves as killing people and killing ourselves, right? They say on killing animals. So we need to figure out ways to do that. But overall, I think the doing away with dangerous occupations, doing away with physically hazardous occupations, and very autonomous, very boring occupations should go away. I personally think that even though robots will be great at folding clothes, we still want that human person to come and be with us and actually have someone to talk to and do the work. It is not much productive gains or fantastic return on investment by folding clothes, but there is a fantastic gain by a robot going and I don't know going into a nuclear accident zone and cleaning it up. So yeah, so there are certain things, but I think we are a very long way where we say, hey, this field, this role, this thing is not for us, right? There'll always be need for specialists, always be need people who know the subject and supervise the robots. Who's going to supervise them? So we need people who know that field.
Yes, that does make me feel a little more hopeful. I like that take.
Yeah.
We have 3 minutes left. If you can each give us sort of a minute and a half of takeaways, hopeful thoughts for the future, and just kind of uh, wind it up for us. You want to go, Karthika?
So as I said, AI jobs will take over. Will not take over the jobs that are routine, and the robots are gonna evolve with humans, not just replace humans. And the next generation is gonna build wonders with the robots. And robots are not gonna replace humans. They're gonna evolve with the humans and grow with us. And
Okay.
let us use the major like let the future generation choose a major that lets them use AI to grow, build, and develop a new career, not just replace everything with AI. Whatever skills or whatever creativity that they have, that remains in them, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was super hopeful. Okay, Harsha, drive it home.
Yeah. For hundreds and thousands of years, we presume that humans have evolved, right? We have evolved from apes to what we are today. But I think we should have the mindset of what can we become as the ultimate creators and evolve some things, right? Evolve things that actually are useful to us and good to us. Not and since we share the planet with multiple sentient, intelligent beings, both flora and fauna, we have to start thinking that as the most so-called most intelligent species on this planet and capable of self-evolution, can we start thinking of evolving things that can actually make a difference to the life on this planet and make a difference to life for us? That's where I see robotics evolving. It's an ultimate expression of our creativity into the physical world, building bridging with the digital world, and start doing things which we can surpass our limitations, our scale, and even our imagination, from science fact to sorry science science fiction to science fact, right? Now, the concept of flying things was unimaginable just 100 years ago. Who would have thought that I've seen these metal flying birds in the sky? We only thought of little, flapping things, but now we have. And now we're going to see things where there are no humans that are flying, right? Flying and birds, they solve so many problems. For the first time, we can travel to the other end of the earth in a day, right? Which even the pharaohs of Egypt could not do. So, we have to think about those creative potential. Our growth and evolution is expressed through the growth and evolution of an entity which actually is somewhat like us. It is maybe the thought process of what our creators did when they created us. So it's time for us to step up and be creative. And as I said, imagination, creativity is still, that's a human thing, cognition and learning. So I think we can amplify that in our works of creation and perhaps make life better for us if we can solve the dark nature, the destructive potential, and the fallouts to us, where we see technology as becoming addictive and mentally impactful. And if we become cognizant of that and handle it and put some guardrails and safety checks, make it safe for everything, we become both the benign as well as the real oversight creators, and do it in a responsible and guided way. I think, what can the future look like? I think it is so many possibilities.
Thank you, Harsha. Honestly, I have to say, you did take the edge off of my fear a little bit and give me a little extra hope that I didn't have prior to our conversation. So hopefully, I'm not the only one who feels a little bit better. But it's still a huge and interesting and kind of wondrous. We'll see, and I can live with that. So thank you both for coming on. We are at time. I just want to say that we're going to take a break for November and December. I'm going to get my weekends back and have some really interesting things that I'm learning and working on. And in January, we will be back with the big, beautiful AI ethics episode. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the new year. Same with Swarmathon, right, Manaz? Swarmathon will
Yeah.
January.
Stormathon will start in January too with a new season about design, AI, and United Nations goals.
Oh,
Okay.
that's nice. By the Swarm community is absolutely great. Um, you ladies and the community talks about so many diverse things, whereas other people are like one-track ponies. So I really like it, and
Thanks.
the thing. Also, I wish you happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, happy
Yeah.
Christmas,
Thanks,
happy
Harsha.
Kwanzaa,
Uh,
happy New Year, and I'll see you all both in 2026.
Yes. Thank you all.
yeah.
See you in
Thank you.
Thank you.
2026.
Happy Halloween.
Have a
Thank
killer
you.
day.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Mhm.